Item Number SCP-5070 Object Class Euclid Special Containment Procedures. SCP-5070 is to be kept in Site-15's indoor aviary. 2x4 wooden planks coated in red paint are to be provided to SCP-5070 3 times a day for feeding purposes. After completion of feeding, the planks are to be retrieved and repainted. 1 live rabbit is to be provided to SCP-5070 weekly. In the event that SCP-5070 escapes, personnel are to use red objects to lure the anomaly back to containment. Description: SCP-5070 is a black desktop stapler. SCP-5070 is sentient and displays behavior similar to birds of the Peggidae family. It is capable of locomotion through short hops or flight, which is accomplished through the use of 2 triangular pieces of A4 paper taped to its handle, which act as wings. Testing has confirmed that the paper is heavily durable compared to non-anomalous counterparts. Other than the inscription etched on the bottom of SCP-5070 displaying the word "vamp," the item is in good condition. SCP-5070 is normally passive and shows signs that resemble affection towards humans. Note: SCP-5070 expresses affection by perching on the shoulder and rubbing against the neck whilst clapping its carrier against the crimp area in repetitive short bursts. To most staff, this is generally viewed with discomfort, with the exception of feeding. In this hunting state, it will protrude staple teeth from the hole of the carrier and hunt for the nearest living animal. Upon locating prey, it will attempt to crush or fasten the prey to nearby surfaces and repeatedly staple it until deceased. Note: when pulling the handle away from the carrier, SCP-5070 is found to be empty of staples. It has been theorized that SCP-5070 produces these staples internally when in its hunting state, then piercing the skin a final time before sucking the entirety of the blood using the staple teeth as a focal point. It is currently unknown how SCP-5070 is able to absorb blood, nor what becomes of the liquid after consumption. After feeding, it will return to a passive state. SCP-5070 is able to use red coloring as a substitute for sustenance. When given objects colored red or other shades of red, it will approach and bite down on the widest surface possible. The color will recede to where the teeth meet until disappearing completely, leaving neutral colors, white, gray, black, etc., behind. This process only affects the color red. Other colors will be unaffected, despite being able to gain sustenance from any red object. SCP-5070 prioritizes blood as a food source. After incidents of SCP-5070 attacking personnel following long periods of substitute feeding, containment procedures have been updated to include the introduction of 1 live rabbit once every week to amend the issue. Discovery: on September 15th, 2008, SCP-5070 was discovered by the Foundation following a series of reports involving red objects suddenly turning gray without apparent cause in Mission Viejo, California. Agents were dispatched to the area and eventually encountered SCP-5070 stapling carcasses of squirrels to a tree within the premises of a private golf course. SCP-5070 did not resist and was apprehended with relative ease. All objects affected were repainted to their original color as necessary. Shortly after capture, it became apparent that the objects that SCP-5070 had affected led a trail from the golf course to the suburban home of Dominic White, POI 1877, a 29-year-old accountant employed by the Beep Company. The house was found uninhabited at the time. The premises was investigated and uncovered multiple indicators that SCP-5070 was kept in the house. Among these were all windows, with the exception of the second-floor bathroom, were covered in blinds, and each of the doors leading inside the building had multiple locks installed on them. All of the wooden furniture were covered in layers of bubble wrap. An abundant amount of cans of red paint and wooden blocks was stored in the pantry. Binders detailing thaumaturgic practices and art were found on a workbench in the garage. Inside the binder was a set of written transactions detailing a list of items being sent to various named individuals. Note: these are not legitimate names, but code names. A custom-made indoor aviary in the main bedroom. The bars of the cage were made of denser metals and were significantly reinforced. Inside the aviary contained the seat and chain of a playground swing set, a bird feeder modified to dispense rabbit blood, and several chew toys embedded with staples. A search was immediately issued for POI 1877. Foundation agents posing as law enforcement investigated Beep. It was revealed that he left work early on the excuse of a family emergency. All attempts to trace his cell phone have failed. Nearly a month after containment of SCP-5070, security personnel discovered POI 1877 scouting the area of Site 15. He attempted to flee but was quickly arrested. POI 1877's vehicle was found nearby along with a bag of tools, a Crossman brand BB gun, and a rough sketch of the layout of the site stored in the trunk. Upon confirming POI 1877's identity, an interview was scheduled to determine his relationship with SCP-5070. Access SCP-5070 Interview POI 1877. Interview log. Date: October 15th, 2007. Interviewer: Dr. Bars. Interviewee: POI 1877. Begin log. State your name for the record. Why? I'm pretty sure you guys know who I am at this point. Just state your name, please. Dominic White. Happy now? So, Mr. White, before we detained you, our people found you hiding behind some rocks with binoculars. You attempted to escape. Care to explain? I wanted to explore. I don't see how that's a crime. As in exploring, do you mean planning to break into a highly classified building which you shouldn't have been in the first place? I don't think a BB gun is exactly the most appropriate weapon to use in this situation, don't you think? Okay, why don't we make this simple and get to the point? The stapler is the reason why you're here. I'm guessing you wanted to reclaim what's yours. You're talking about Fam was nothing but a simple toy to me? Hell, he's the most important thing in my life. I don't expect you guys to get that, but hey, that's part of the deal, I guess. And why not help us understand? Surely your input will allow us to help your friend better. How do you guys put the pieces together already? We would like to hear it from your perspective. What is your relationship between you and the entity? It doesn't matter, Skip. You don't get... How about this? You answer truthfully without any missing details, and you might not be locked in a room for the foreseeable future. We might even take more consideration with your case as well. You drive a hard bargain. What the hell? Fine. If this is going to be my highlight, might as well make it memorable. That question is a bit complicated. I don't know where to start. Why not start from the beginning? You must have a first encounter with anomalies. In that case, it started in the middle of college. One day, Dad came to me and he said he was a magician. I thought he lost his mind. Then he showed me some magic. To say the least, I almost lost mine too. Your father was a magician. That's what he called an artist. Anyway, he'd been one in secret for some time, and finally decided I was ready to learn the hobby of his. It was a great venture at the time, and I became his protege until he passed away. After that, I became focused with my job, and just worked to keep the house. I didn't feel satisfied with the paychecks as of late, so I decided to become more creative of increasing the cash flow. So you produce anomalies to turn a profit. Hey, I'm not an arms dealer. The stuff I made were typically for jokes and were tools for minor inconveniences. I never sold weapons. They send me what they want and I deliver. It pays decently, though. So, what about the stapler? Was it created due to a request? No! My jackass boss dumped loads of paperwork on my desk and I had a narrow deadline. I decided to finish it at home. I remember signing and stapling the papers together, but it got hazy after that. I don't know if it was something left over from my previous projects, or maybe it was the universe's way of telling me that my job sucked. Who knows? But when I woke, I saw my stapler, the same one that I had been using for nearly a decade, flying around the garage like a confused animal. It was a first for me. Care to elaborate? You said you created anomalies for a living. I did, but I was never able to give life to my creations before. I was excited. It motivated me to reach for the big leagues, expand my brand, so to speak. I got in contact with a lot of big names, but the deals didn't work out for you as you hoped. Rejected. Every single one of them. Said he was not interesting, nor was it too much of a hassle to deal with him. It doesn't faze me now, but back then it was a huge gut punch. Like everything I did at that point was just subpar at best. After that wake-up call, I had to rethink a lot of things. One of them was figuring out what to do with the vamp. And that was when you decided to take the entity into your custody. Not at first. I originally kept him around because I didn't know what to do with him. I was debating whether to dismantle or toss him. But I couldn't do it. It was my creation, a child of mine. Vamp hurt my chances, but he didn't deserve that. It wasn't right. And I guess after some more time he grew on me. Sure, he was erratic and has bit me more times than I could count. But I love him, and he loved me. He reminded me a lot of Dakota. Who is Dakota? A golden doodle I used to own when I was a kid. In fact, she was a part of family for as long as I could remember. She was a mischief devil. One of her greatest moments was stealing food or barking at the stupid things on TV, but she made it up by being a love bug. I had more of a relationship than Dakota had, most of the people I ever met. But she was so old. I was sad to see her go. The house was never the same. Vamp filled the void, and I treated him as a pet ever since. He was a pain in the ass, but he was worth it. I would imagine taking responsibility for such a thing would be difficult. Oh, don't get me wrong. He was a challenge, but not in the way you're thinking. My salary covered the cost of getting supplies. It was keeping him in the house that was a chore. It was hard enough I had to staple-proof the house, but unlike Dakota, he was adventurous and didn't like being kept inside for the majority of the day. It didn't help that he also gets easily bored. I tried entertaining him as best I could, but my job consumed most of my free time. The worst part was I had to frequently leave him at home, alone. I couldn't hire a pet sitter, couldn't risk the attention. Has it ever escaped? On occasion. Somehow he would escape from the cage and try to get outside. I managed to catch him in time, but as we all know, I lost my streak. Still don't know how he got out. Well, according to the report, one of the windows in the bathroom were opened. What? The bathroom? Damn it! I freaking knew I missed something when I left. Vamp didn't cause trouble on his day out, did he? It damaged public property, but that's the extent. We're curious as to what you were doing on that day of the stapler's capture. Beep stated you left due to a family emergency. Oh, that was a lie. Well, half lie. I left because I saw him out of the house, and I rushed into my car to snatch him before someone else did. Or at least I tried. That's not possible, as the stapler was nowhere near Beep. I didn't see him with my eyes. I saw him with my mind. With your mind. You heard of remote viewing. I can do that. It was the only reason why I felt comfortable leaving him at home. You... what? How are you runs in the family, apparently. I was only aware of it when Dad taught me. Well, that explains a lot. Your family line has psychic capabilities. Is this abnormally due to your genetics, or... Look, if you want to know more about it, fine, but this is all about him, right? Why go off course with such an irrelevant topic? I'll happily tell you more about the finer details when this is over. I can tell you're the kind of guys that love to get their nose in everyone's business. Alright then, continue. Anyways, I had a particularly crappy day. Too much work, overbearing co-workers. Didn't get enough sleep either. I can't feel things well when I'm stressed. It gets fuzzy. When I finally got a chance to breathe, I saw him happily munching on a license plate, and that's when I bolted. I drove, but I viewed you guys scooping him up. I knew there was no coming back from this, and perhaps it was for the best. You wanted us to contain your pet. Hell no! I wish this whole thing never happened, but you know what? It gave me clarity. For the longest time, I've been taught that getting high on the food chain was the definition of success. But if that's true, then why do I still feel like I'm wasting my life? I figured it out. That's what I wanted in life, not what I needed. Picture this, Doc. You're young, and you're aged that if you work hard, just put the effort in, you'll be set for life, a happy ending. Then you grow up. You've gotten yourself a great house, but barely have the time to appreciate it due to work. You feel tired every day, but you have to act like you're not because people have expectations of you and you cannot disappoint. Most people you've met are either oblivious about the world or inherently self-centered to the point where it's disgusting. And all the people you can rely on are gone. And now you're to brave the path forward, not sure where to go and what to do, and you want to go back to the days when things were simple, but you can't because you get responsibilities, and just thinking about it makes you want to freaking scream. POI 1877 slams his right fist on the table. He remained silent for 8 seconds before retracting his arm. Sorry, I didn't mean for it to come on like that. It's been a long day. It's quite alright. I understand. So, Vamp helped you by relieving stress. More than that, he brought back resemblance of what used to be. It was small, but enough. It was not man's best friend, but he was certainly mine. The thought of him disappearing to some Area 51 spin-off was unacceptable, so I did research in conjunction with the viewing and eventually found a place. I made a map from what I saw and crossed my fingers. Just wished I didn't get caught so damned easily. Why not just made another map? Surely that would have fixed something. Tell me, if you love someone or something very much, so much they're part of who you are, will you just replace them with some lookalike? No. It was either I got Vamp back or nothing. And yeah, maybe I would have been physically better off. But I could never forgive myself if I did. I wanted to do what I thought was right in the face of overwhelming odds, and I failed. At least that's something, right? Most people wouldn't dare. They just let life guide them by the ear rather than the other way around. Not me. I would do anything for him, and I feel like he'd do the same for me too. POI 1877 lowers his head. He covers his face. I see. Thanks for your cooperation. I think that does it for today. Just sit tight, and I'll call. Don't mind me. I beg your pardon. POI 1877 raises his head. His eyes are watering. Please, don't wipe my memories. Us veterans in the anonymous community are aware that you guys have ways of making people forget things they shouldn't know. I don't care if you guys lock me up or kill me, but please, don't make me forget. I don't want to go back. I don't want it all to be for nothing. Hold on. Let's calm down here. You said you look at my case, right? I'm sure you're having problems with Vamp. I know some tricks that might help. In fact, I'd be a very valuable asset to you guys. I know magic and viewing too. Maybe we can work something out. Hold on. I need to make some calls. End log. Afterward, After much consideration, due to POI 1877's experience in thaumaturgy and remote viewing capabilities, he was assigned MTF Σ-66, 16 tons, 6 months following this interview. POI 1877's recommendations to SCP-57D's containment procedures have been acknowledged. Proposal to allow POI 1877 to interact with SCP-57D once every 2 weeks have been approved.